title card.
Yep, there you go. Now you're live.
Yeah. Let's see. Oh, there you are. Hey, Lance. How are you today?
Doing great, Ed. How about yourself?
I'm great. So I know we talked about getting together today, doing a quick update on the market, maybe taking some questions and answers. We should be live on Facebook and YouTube at this point. And if someone has a question, they should be able to put that into either one of those platforms, and we should be able to see it and give them an answer, because we are super wise in those regards. So I'm going to pull up Facebook, make sure we are actually going. But Lance, do you want to kind of start off with what you see happening in the market? I know we were going to talk a little bit about this housing bubble that everyone seems to be talking about. I've been thinking the housing bubble is coming for 10 years, and I've been wrong every year. So maybe you can pick up and tell me why I'm wrong.
Sure. So basically what I'm going to do is share some information that comes from the experts. I'm, of course, not an economic expert in this field, but
Sure you are.
seeing as much as we do, and studying and following and whatnot, kind of what we're seeing is that, and I'm asked this all the time: hey, are housing prices going to go back down? Are we going to have a bubble? Or, is it going to bust? And the experts are showing, that there's not truly a housing bubble right now. It is simple supply and demand. There's just not enough supply for the demand right now. So can you put up that first slide? So this is birth rates for years. And what we're seeing right now, the little arrow pointing down there, shows that 33-year-olds today are their large number of the first-time home buyers. Well, we can see for the next 4 years or so, the population increases each year. So if we stay the course, with that being our kind of age of entering home ownership, it's just going to increase the demand over the next 4 years because the population is increasing. So if you go to the second slide for me.
Well, I just want to ask you real quick on this first slide. So moving to the right, there's a little pop in the next 4 years, but then even, 20 years down the road, there's even a bigger pop, right?
Correct.
So
Correct.
Is that really 20 years? Let's see. 80, this is saying 81 to, it's not even 20. Oh, it is about 20 years.
Yeah. It's birth for around 2007-ish.
Yeah, so it's like 25 years. So what we're seeing is, even though I know some people are talking right now about how the millennials aren't having babies and aren't growing their families, but and the reason I brought that up is because a lot of people say, oh, this is going to lead to a decline in housing, but it looks like at least in the next 25 years, going forward to the right on this graph, we'll have even more demand, I think. Is that how you took it, and how the guy that you were listening to was explaining it?
Yeah, so you can see that we're going up, and it kind of does level out for a little while, and then it continues though at a very high pace. I mean, if you're looking at where we are today's 33-year-old, you go straight to the right of that, it doesn't look like there's another year that's below right now. So
right.
You can say that for the next 25 years, until we hit that next jump up increase, every year's above where we are today.
Yeah, that's fascinating and awesome. It's good to own some real estate. Okay, you wanted the next slide. Let's see. I love live, not television, but being live.
This talks about our inventory of homes. Okay, and you can see that in 2007, we've got that one dark. That was our housing bubble burst. Look at the number of homes that were on the market, that were available. Go to the far right, look at where we are today. So you can see there's far fewer homes on the market. However, at the same time, we have 12 million more households. So there's more people are wanting those homes, but there's less homes to be had. And I read something the other day that I believe it was last year, there was, I don't remember what it was, like 12 million housing permits or something like that. Or, I'm sorry, much larger than that. But basically, it's this year or next year is about half of the number of permits that we've had running for the last 20 years. every year housing permits have increased, and then all of a sudden they're cut almost 50%. So we're not going to be building as much. So the demand's going to remain high. Numbers show that it should. We have more people buying, we have less homes.
Right. Well, and I don't know if you're reading this. You live a little bit closer to Dripping Springs than I do, but did you see that the city of Dripping Springs has temporarily halted new housing starts?
I did.
That's
I
amazing.
did.
Now, I
I
know
mean,
that they have a lot in the pipeline. There's about 9,000 homes going in just north of the Dripping Springs Elementary. And there's plenty out there to build into the foreseeable future. But I thought it was interesting that they basically said, whoa, we can't keep up, and it's time
right.
to halt this. Have you heard about any other developments getting delayed?
I have not. And that one was it's an infrastructure issue, if I remember right. It's either water or sewer, a combination of the two. That's the reason that Dripping Springs is putting that on hold.
That's right. It's there is a water issue, not that we don't have enough, but it's that it appears it's been overcommitted. Um, and that future development may need to be curtailed depending on where they're getting their water from. As you know, I spent years negotiating a water pipeline through our neighborhood in Lake Point here to supply water all the way down to your house and all the way down from if you're familiar with the area. Lake Point is just near the Hill Country Galleria, just north east of the Hill Country Galleria, and our water is we pump water out of the Lake Austin all the way down to we don't the utility does, but it comes from our neighborhood out of Lake Austin. It goes all the way down to Driftwood to the Salt Lick, for example, and all the way down to Dripping Springs. So that's a lot of area that is being pulled just straight out of the lake. So I think some of the concern was that at least down Hamilton Pool was whether or not they were going to tap into groundwater because the permits, I think, to take more water out of the West Travis County PUA were getting limited, and they were curtailing those additional permits because they didn't think that they would even have enough, even though they just doubled their supply. So yeah, I've heard, and I've also heard about a lawsuit down on Hamilton Pool Road to stop development because of salamander, I believe. You know, we're good at that here in Austin. So going back to the point is all these things are getting in the way of development, man-made problems or environmental problems or whatever. So that will, at least locally, now a lot of our slides that you're showing are national, but at least locally, tail the build. Which dog is that?
It's mine. Someone just rang the doorbell. So yes, we're gonna have puppies in the picture here for a minute.
Yeah, you usually have a couple dogs running around.
Yes.
Anyway, you have one more slide. Let's see if I can go back to it. There it is.
So this last one talks about, where do new homes come from? And primarily it's builders. There was a lot of talk about, the forbearance and everything that went on with COVID this last year. And there was 5 million homes, and that, were those going to come back to the market? And we can see here on this slide that basically, over 3.5 million are no longer in forbearance. So it only leaves it's a little over a million, which the numbers show that the foreclosures and short sales is not that many. There's so much equity in homes now that you can tap into. They're working with people on modifications and whatnot that it looks like less than 25,000 homes are actually going to be on the market due to the economic issues from COVID. So we can see here, of course, with demand going up, those homes will be gone tomorrow, basically. So again, we're still seeing higher demand than what the supply is. That really supports that home prices are not going to go down. They might level out, but you're not going to have the housing bubble that we experienced back in 2007.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with you there. There's just far too many people trying to move to the area, we'll just move anywhere and get housing anywhere. I don't think Austin's unique in that respect, although I think Austin has benefited greatly from the Elon Musks of the world tweeting out that they need more people to move here. I really appreciated him doing so, but at the same time, it did lead to kind of a circus atmosphere around some of this housing. And I don't think we're going to see that again, although we will have, I think, another good spring. I hope kind of pray that we don't see that again, because it really, I don't think it's great for anybody to have this lopsided of a market, because remember, not every seller, but a lot of sellers have to buy somewhere. So they're going to not only sell, but they're going to have to re-enter the market and, and buy again. And that's going to cause them to overpay potentially for another property. So.
Right. And that's basically a lateral move. It's where no supply is made there. You can sell one house and buy one house. That's kind of an even swap.
That's right. So, on that topic, a lot of people are blaming the BlackRocks and the Zillow offers and the open doors for this stuff. And I don't know, honestly, if they're really that much of a problem. Certainly they are buying houses. Those houses are off the market temporarily for months at a time until they're either converted to a rental unit or resold into another buyer. But, those altogether, that whole sector, I think, equates to 1%, maybe 1.5% of the total inventory or the total home sales in the country. So it's really not that big of a deal. And honestly, Zillow screwed it up so well this last spring that, I mean, right now there's a great deal on a Zillow house that we sold Zillow 4 months ago, and you can now buy it below where we had it listed for this summer. So I think that's just an amazing opportunity for some people. But let me get real quick. I wanted to jump, if it's cool with you, I want to jump over to what happened last month.
Sure.
I mean, I figured you'd be okay with it. So last month we did, and this is talking about November. So it's just barely ended 7 days ago, 8 days ago. So these are kind of early numbers, but so last month we did see in the 5-county area, we did see home sales continue to decline. Now, this isn't really a big problem because the home sales declined over last year, which was already a great year. The home sales last year were way up over the home sales in 2019. Last year's COVID home sales were way up. So when you really look at this and you see a 12% decline over last year, that's not a really big deal because we're up, I think, 8% over 2019. So that is really still a great number to be at. Now, the other interesting thing is that prices continue to go up. We're still seeing 30% price appreciation. I mean, that's amazing. I will take that all day long. Lance, can I refinance my house again next year and get more money out? I mean,
absolutely.
At this point, you could refinance every year and take out that appreciation, and never have to come to the table with any money, really. So now you'll probably tell me there's some rules against that or something, but I always make it a lot easier than it appears. I know on the lending side, I always just say, "Oh, don't worry about it." But I mean, we're still seeing a dramatically good market for sellers. And, as a homeowner of many homes, I've often considered selling a couple, but at the same time, I'm actually not. I'm going to go buy a few because I think it's just going to continue to improve. So there's not a whole lot of interesting information. You just need to know that prices are up, sales are temporarily down, but we still have a very, very small supply of homes on the market, which is going to taper off in the spring and probably create a little bit of a feeding frenzy like it did last year. Now, I'm hoping we'll get more homes listed than we did last year, and that we'll see less price. I actually want less price appreciation because at some point it just gets out of control, and then you will have to start talking about a real bubble. We are not in a bubble territory. We could get there. I think if we did 30% for another year or two, then, if we do a 30% year on year for 3 years, you're looking at 105% or 110% return on your investment in 3 years. That's a lot. That's where you need to start watching out for stuff. So that was kind of what I thought was interesting. The other interesting thing coming, and I don't really know how this is going to play out, but the eviction moratorium is going to end at the end of the year, the current one. Now, I mean, Mayor Adler's probably going to extend it, and the county judge will probably jump along with it and keep going and let it keep going. But Austin has said they've spent all of their COVID rent relief money already. So I don't know how that's going to play out. Fortunately, I'm going to knock on some wood. All of my tenants on my rental properties are paying, so I'm happy about that. Lance, in your world, do you have any? I know you work with investors. Do you have any investors that are having trouble collecting rent?
I haven't heard of any.
Okay, well, that's good. I mean, I know it happens on a national scale, and I know that there's certain municipalities that are really having trouble, but it doesn't seem to be in Texas for some reason. And maybe that's because of the governor's attitudes towards COVID and attitudes towards opening up everything real early. Maybe not. I don't know. Got anything to add about COVID?
That's a whole nother call, man.
It's another call for another time. Okay, well, I think we covered the real estate stuff. So is there anything fancy going on in your life you want to share besides you have dogs? Let me ask you, because people do want to know. Desiring minds want to know about us personally. And I know you do the a puppy boxer, I'm not sure what you call it. Rescue.
Yeah, my wife and I have done Austin Boxer Rescue for a number of years since, before we had kids. And our two little girls are turning 5 and 9 this month. But we've had over 100 foster dogs. So we have tapered down a little bit now that we have the kids and whatnot. But yes, prior to kids, we could have 2 or 3 at a time on top of our own pets. So, have a nice little pack. But yeah, so we do boxers, and ended up I have a boxer, and then we have another little. We're not quite sure what he is. He's a mix of some sort, but both rescues. We're big into the rescues. There's so many dogs out there that you can help some out, help them out.
Well, I know I see them on Facebook every once in a while, and they're when you have the puppies, they're very cute and hard to resist.
Yes.
I know your wife tried to give me several puppies over the years.
We had a mom and 9 puppies come to us last Christmas Eve or New Year's Eve. It was right at the end of the year last year. So it's been about a year. So yeah, we had a whole house full at that point. But it was fun. It was fun.
It looked great fun. And man, I can't imagine trying to snuggle with all of them, but I would have tried. Boxers, we used to have a boxer mix of some kind, and that was the smartest, most caring dog we've ever had.
The neighborhood kids gave out a lot of snuggles. They helped with them for sure.
Right. All right. Well, the other thing that whenever you're talking to a lender, you have to ask, what the rates do today? They're going up, down?
Man, we've been on a crazy yo-yo lately. It's up one day, down one day, but they're bigger swings than what we've seen. Typically, it's the mortgage-backed securities are based on 30 seconds. It's nothing to see a 5, 10 movement of a day. Recently, we've had up 35, down 30, up 25, down 30, up 20. Yeah, it's been in the 20s and 30s. Calming down a little bit over the last 2 days, but both those days have both been negative, meaning that rates have gone up just a little bit. I mean, you're still talking rates in the low 3s. You're talking still historic lows over the long term. But they are tending to head upwards slightly here. And a lot of that has to do with all the inflation talk.
Yeah. Well, and I did keeping Jerome Powell, not Jerome Powell. Sorry, what's his last name? The Fed chair.
Right.
Keeping him
off the top of my head, it's a sure.
I love Google. Jerome Powell. There you go. Do you think keeping him has led to this volatility, or do you think that was a good move for Biden? Do you have any? Does that in affect what y'all are doing at all?
The market's going to move. It just depends on what's going on. So as far as who's behind it, I think staying the course, keeping with what had been there, probably a good idea. But ultimately what it's going to do, the market's going to move. It constantly does. So We'll have to see what they do with it and where we go. Government stopping or tapering its buying process is not helping a whole lot either. So that was part of the rates movement as well.
So where do you think rates are a year from now? If you had to put money on it?
Let me check that crystal ball real quick.
Yeah, please do. Because my
man, I think we're going to be.
I need another mortgage.
I think we're going to be higher. I don't think it's going to be anything crazy like 2 points or anything, but I think 8 to 12 months down the road, maybe half point higher would be my guess at this point, just with what's been going on. We're up probably since the beginning of last year, even 6 months ago, we're up about a quarter. So, overall, that would be a movement of around 3/4 or so. And I think that's possible. Just kind of depends, and we'll see what the market does.
Yeah. I mean, a 2-point move, that'd be almost double. I mean, not double, 50%, right? So that would be a pretty big move. And I think that would probably go a long way to halting appreciation pretty quickly.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Because it's going to slow down. I mean, and that's, we'll have to do one of these over buying power and whatnot, because as those rates go up, when the home price is going up, now the mortgages are going up, as a whole. And of course, it's going to start hurting buyers.
Right. Well, fortunately, the Texas legislature did some things to limit the property tax growth over time. So, that may actually work out in our benefit down the road. I've noticed that some of my properties actually, the values doubled in one instance year over year, but my bill actually went down. I'm not really sure how that worked, but that was indeed the case. And with the bill, I don't know, it's a law now. So what I understand is they limited the upside growth by 3%, so that your bill kind of couldn't get bigger by more than 3% every year. So that would be great. Maybe 10 years down the road, the property tax side will be less of a burden when it comes to qualifying for properties. So maybe allows property values to go up, because really property values are only limited by the ability to qualify, and the ability of payments. I mean, as soon as someone decides that a 60-year mortgage is acceptable, widely acceptable, and replaces the 30, then, we'll see home values double pretty much overnight, because the payments will be roughly this. Well, actually, it won't be the same, but, they'll be roughly the same on almost twice as much value. So, that, and, I've already seen that mortgage out there. Lance, do you have the 45 and 60-year product?
Nope. Not at this time. They tried it a couple of years ago. I wasn't aware if anybody was doing that again, but I know that it's been a while. I want to say 10 years ago or so, there was a 40-year that had come out and kind of hit the market a little bit. And then it went away with the wonderful mortgages from what was that, 7 and 8, when everything kind of crashed. So it kind of went away with that. Haven't really seen it come back yet, but it could be.
Did I ever tell you my story about my mortgage in 2007? No. You want to hear a fun story? Here we go. Countrywide. I was a Countrywide mortgage. So Countrywide gets sold to, was it WAMU?
Mm-hmm. I think so.
Yeah, and then WAMU to Bank of America. So I went from having a mortgage with Countrywide to having a mortgage that was being serviced by Bank of America. So I get this call. I'm paying my mortgage and everything. Just everything's on time. I'm doing my end. But Bank of America calls me and says, "Hey, we would like to refinance your mortgage at no cost to you, and we'd like to lower your rate by a point." And I'm like, no cost to me? I mean, usually, you're rolling it into the loan. They said, "No, we're not even going to do that. We're just going to eat all the costs." I said, "That's odd to me. But why were you going to do that?" Anyway.
Why wouldn't you?
Yeah, so it was great for me, but I didn't understand why the bank was doing it. And I couldn't figure it out at the time. But years later, I went and looked. now that I've been in real estate business for 12 years, I know how to find documents and things. And well, there's no recorded deed from country, or deed of trust from Countrywide. So that was one of those documents that they couldn't find. And I think Bank of America was struggling to figure out if they actually had any paper on my loan. It was just some guy paying them.
Wow.
So I guess in theory, I could have stopped paying them and they wouldn't have had any recourse, or they wouldn't have been able to find it. That's just interesting to me and I didn't find that out until actually the closing table of the refinance, where the title person says we could never find the original paperwork from the first loan. It's not anywhere. And I'm like, oh, cool. So there's still no recorded release of lien from that first, because it didn't exist. So anyway, next time you find yourself in a mortgage crisis, double check that they have the paperwork. Anyway, that's a crazy side story. Okay, well, this has been fun. We've been doing this for 26 minutes. We've had 2 viewers. I'd like to recap. 2 viewers. No one asked a question, and we've stared at each other longingly, hoping that people would look at us. Is there anything else you have to add today, Lance?
I think we covered it, man.
Okay, well, before we
go, what about where to find us? Hey.
Oh yeah, let me go. Okay, hold on. Technical difficulties. Let's see. Where did I put that? Okay, this is the exciting part of the show. Okay, yes. If you need to get a hold of Lance or myself, if you would like to buy some real estate or borrow some money for some real estate, here's our contact information. And if you have any questions, comments, concerns about my hair or my drinking from a very large Yeti cup, you know where to reach us. Lance, you could, anytime, Lance, you want to take over.
Oh, you got it, man. That was good.
I am not drinking anything but water, but I feel like I'm acting differently. So I wanted to clarify that. Anyway, this is fun. I enjoy trying this, and hopefully someone out there finds it useful. No one live today, but that's okay. Maybe we could try it again in the future. And Lance, next week's getting too close to Christmas. You want to try it again next week, or is that too close?
We can. I mean, what do you think? Maybe try and have 1 viewer then?
Well, we had
more than 1 viewer.
We already had 2. So we had I think we had 11 on our last one. So total. So we'll have to see how many views we can get before next week.
Sounds good, bud.
I'll try to do some dancing or something and get some more people to watch. Something. Anyway, for now, I'll go back to our contact card in case you didn't write that down. And Lance, I'm going to just sign off from here. I guess I'll say goodbye. Lance, you got to say goodbye?
Yes, sir. Hey, man. Thanks for having me.
All right.
Always fun.
Thanks. See you next time.